Hi everyone, it's Kendall here, and what I have for you today is week number 15 of our Grandma's Kitchen Sew-Along, which is hosted by Pat Sloan over at her website, ilovetomakequilts.com. If you haven't done so already, jump over to Pat's website, download this week's free pattern, come back here, and I'll show you how I do it. So, we don't normally begin with the week's completed block already complete. So why are we looking at it here on the table? Well, my friends, that's because I filmed the entire video making it with Pat's original instructions, which ultimately ends up as a 25 patch with half square triangles and solid squares. However, when I went to sit down to edit said video, the video didn't exist. So I thought to myself, well, can we make this a different way because I don't need two of the same block? And yes, we can. In the description box below, you'll find an alternate cutting sheet which will give you the pieces as you see on the table here. A through G being the light fabric, medium 1, medium 2, and the dark. But we're going to start by taking 3 of our light B squares and just 1 of our medium 1 E squares and our large C square, and we are actually just going to put a sew and flip on all 4 corners of that unit, and then we can move ahead from there. You'll see from the cutting sheet that the block in and of itself, I have eliminated every single seam allowance that I could, and going forward you'll see that all coming together. To make the sew and flips, you could of course draw your diagonal line on the back of the smaller square there, take it to the machine, stitch on the line, cut away the excess, etc. But I like to use my folded corner clipper tool, and to do that we use the markings on the tool to line up on our small square there, and we slice that fabric away, and then we take it to the machine and stitch. Now I do a bit of a scant 1/4 inch when I do this stitching, and that just helps maintain the accuracy and the size of the square that we started with. So at the end of this process, we should end up still with a 6.5 inch square. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the sew and flips on all 4 corners of this block, and pressing for this, we will press out away from that central block. With that large unit now made, we just need to pull in our D rectangle, which is from our medium 2 fabric, and 2 of our light B squares, and we need to put a sew and flip, 2 sew and flips on this one on the same long edge. So you'll see I'll start with it horizontally on the table in front of me, and I'll put it in the top right hand corner using my folded corner clipper tool as I do, and we'll make a sew and flip on this right hand corner. After we've done this one, we'll then place the piece vertically on the table in front of us with the sew and flip that we already made down on the lower right hand corner, and once again we'll do the sew and flip on the top right hand corner. Well, after this is pressed out, this unit in and of itself will also be done. The unit we just created forms most of the bottom row of this block, but to complete that row, we do need to have 2 of our A rectangles and just 1 of our dark G squares. We do need to put a sew and flip on one of the A rectangles, and to do that we just put it horizontally on the table in front of us using our folded corner clipper tool, clipping that off and pressing out towards that darker fabric. We'll then stitch these onto either side of our previously completed unit, making sure that our sew and flips are down the bottom, and that will complete the bottom half of this week's block. And then we'll get to finishing the top. You would have seen there that I simply pressed out towards that solid A rectangle on the left hand side, and on the right hand side here, just for ease of use and purpose, I am just going to press that seam open. As I said, that does complete the bottom row of our block, and we just need to make one more little unit to complete our top row, and then we can sew our block together. So for this, we need to grab in our large F fabric, which is our dark square, with the one remaining light fabric or B square, and the one remaining E medium 2 square. And we are going to put a sew and flip on opposite corners, so opposite on the diagonal of the larger square. And for this one, for the E rectangle, or E square, sorry, or the medium 2 fabric, we need to press this in towards the darker fabric, and the other one can then just be pressed out towards that corner sew and flip. This will give us an intersection to nest when we come to sew this together to the unit we created at the start. To finish off this unit, we just need to attach our one remaining A rectangle to the top, making sure we're sewing it to the side that has the light fabric sew and flip, and we'll press out towards that solid rectangle. We now just need to attach this unit to the right hand side of the one that we created at the very start of the video, and because of the clever way that we pressed our seams, this intersection where my left hand is right now will nest nicely. Stitch this together, and just like on our bottom row, we will press this seam open. We just have one last seam left, and that is to attach our two rows together. And the best thing about this is you do have a few little places that you might want to worry about lining up, like on those seams and stuff, but I just use my sew and hope method, and I go across and everything works out just perfectly for me. Once we've done this, we will then press it down towards that bottom row, I believe, and our block for this week will be done. And as if by magic, here is this week's block complete, but with my alternate cutting and eliminating as many seam lines as we could. Once again, there is nothing against using the pattern that Pat has given us for free. I just like to eliminate seam lines where I can for a much cleaner finish, and it allows you to use those fabrics with bigger prints. As a reminder, here is what the block looked like when made with Pat's directions, and it is 100% absolutely fine. Alrighty folks, I hope you forgive the change of video. My original plan was to show you the way that is set out in Pat's pattern and then to do my alternate piecing, just so that you had both to go on and we'd have a little bit of a longer video for this week. However, the video gods did not hold that in store for me, and my original footage was nowhere to be found. So you only got the alternate piecing video. The only thing really to remember with the original version is to control which way your seams are going and to plan ahead with your pressing, which is something that I went in great detail in the video that I never made. Anyway, if you've liked what you've seen today, I would love for you to like the video, share it with a friend that you think may be interested, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and when you do subscribe, tickle that little bell icon and you'll be notified of all my future releases and you won't miss a thing. I'll see you all again this Saturday night with the final video in our Brackman series, which will be the on point setting. See you all there. Bye for now.